I'd like to welcome everyone to the first ever episode of The Taz Show. I am your gracious host, The Taz Man. This is a channel for things that interest me, and I hope you as well out there. This channel is new, and I hope will grow, so I need you to subscribe, like, and share this video as much as you can. These are 3 clicks that only take 2 seconds, but they'll go a long way to help me with that growth. And I want you all to take this journey with me. The video today is something I often talk about with fellow gamers, things that EA Sports can do to improve Madden. Why don't we jump right in? If you're my age, you remember a time before Madden became so polarizing, which to me was the period up to the 2005 entry. Shout out to Ray Lewis for lifting that first down line in that commercial. However, that was the year we first started seeing the super linebackers. You know, the linebackers that can jump 30 feet in the air and pick off a pass that they shouldn't have been able to. EA Sports' problem is that they tend to overcorrect, and they tend to be very all or nothing. When fans complain about A, EA Sports immediately jumps to Z. Normally, games just need to make subtle changes, but almost 20 years of this all or nothing approach has driven them to a point where they need to make wholesale changes to the game, and I have a few listed here. Okay, so the first, and follow me on this, is getting rid of the difficulty setting. The problem with the difficulty rating is that it completely removes the concept of simulation football and reverts Madden into just another video game. What this means is that the game begins to manufacture a challenge when there shouldn't be one. Have you ever had a 5'10", 180-pound cornerback not just tackle but stand up and stop your 6'2", 230-pound running back in his tracks? That's because the game is trying to be difficult because that's what it thinks you want since you have it on all Madden. This causes other unusual circumstances within the game. If you've ever forced a QB to fumble in the pocket and the entire offensive line that's supposed to be looking downfield turns around to recover it before you do, that's the difficulty rating. You have a nose tackle whose strength and block shedding are 10 points higher than the center's strength and pertinent run blocking ratings, but he gets moved 10 yards off the ball. That's the difficulty rating. Another example is interceptions. Do you throw interceptions to defensive backs that weren't even looking for the ball? That's the difficulty rating. The issue with difficulty is that to manufacture the difficulty on the game actually just locks out animations from the player. I can almost guarantee you that every one of these examples were facilitated by an animation that the CPU control players got that you never do. Difficulty setting makes sense in games that like the ones from the Fallout or Horizon franchises because they're based on things that I hope will never happen and are just unrealistic. Simulation games are different because they're trying to replicate something that exists, in this case sports, as best as they can. If the game is to truly be a simulation game, then the challenge should come from the context of the game itself. The thing is, if I really wanted to be challenged in the 2021 season, I'd take the Jaguars up against the Rams who won the Super Bowl or the Green Bay Packers who had the best record on the season. Or I'd play a team that's a bad matchup for my team. For example, I'm a Steelers fan. Anyone who's watched us the past 2 years knows that Big Ben couldn't get the ball downfield. With that being the case, if I wanted a challenge, then I'd play a team that had cornerbacks with a high press rating to smother my receivers at the line. The challenge for me would be, like in reality, how do I back the corners off? Conversely, if my front seven isn't that strong rushing the passer, how do I find the best matchup on the opposing offensive line? The problem is that as long as the difficulty setting is there, nothing else matters. Not the ratings, not the physics of the sport, and most of all, not the player's skill. This is also where the all or nothing issue rears its head, because you're either dominating the computer if you have it on all pro or below, or the game never lets you be right if you have it on all Madden unless you're one of those players that looks for programming exploits. The thing is, not everyone has the time to sit there and lab the game to find exploits, nor should you have to break the game to have any success. The second change is Ultimate Team. Conceptually, it's redundant. It's just franchise mode with historical players. The historical concept isn't anything new because EA Sports used to have teams based on championship years for a franchise, or a franchise's all-time team that you could play with. I used to love taking the 75 Steelers up against the 89 49ers. You could have actual dream matches. You can't really do this with Ultimate Team because it's practically no different from what you do in franchise mode. You acquire players then level them up. Instead of having the mode take up space, why not just eliminate the historical players aspect and fold the microtransactions into another part of the game? I'm cutting this section short because that actually rolls into the next change. No more yearly releases. I really don't understand why EA Sports and other sports devs for that matter insist on this. There's a reason why non-sports franchises take years between sequels, and I have to believe in good faith that's why they have such a hard time improving this game. So stop releasing a full game every year, especially since every year is more or less a roster update. Remember what I said about Ultimate Team? Here's where they can take that model and apply it to the rest of the game. Say EASports releases Madden 23 and takes the next 3 or more years developing the next game. In between that, I'm comfortable paying $29.99 per year for a league update with coaching staff, roster, and any other franchise move updates. I know the initial thought is that EA will be missing the $20 per unit, but there's a kicker here. I'd be willing to pay $2.99 for playbook packages, or $5.99 for training packages like something to make your team faster, stronger, or more agile. You could also do $1.99 for premium stadium packages if you wanted to rebuild or move in franchise mode. These examples may run hard to code, but there are a lot of possibilities regarding what they could do to cover the loss. I don't know how others feel, but for me, I don't mind microtransactions if I find value in them. I know that EA makes a lot of money off of Ultimate Team, but it also seems to be an either-or situation. People either love Ultimate Team or they don't and resent the neglect it's caused in other modes like Connect the Franchise. You can even fold the concept of purchasing EA-created players, since that's what an NFL team does anyway for player services, and bring back the concept of exporting your franchise team to play head-to-head, since you used to be able to do that back in the day. This gives flexibility to players who don't mind grinding and players who don't mind spending a few bucks above their team, just like in the NFL. You have teams that build through the draft, through free agency, and a hybrid of both models. Speaking of models, this isn't that difficult because other genres already operate like this. Look at the release schedule between Destiny and Destiny 2. Both releases are years apart, yet they both get tons of support with DLC that fans happily consume. Another example is Mortal Kombat. MKX was supported for the longest time with DLC, both canon and guest characters. MK11 gave you an add-on that was more or less another game. Even if you purchased the season pass that changed it from MK11 to Ultimate MK11, there were tons of extra skins to purchase. What's most important, or hopefully as important as the microtransactions, is the development cycle. Remember when EA tried to implement physics and we really just got players falling over each other between plays? Imagine them having a few years to work out the bugs. You miss QB vision, creating your own plays, or directing a lead blocker? Imagine them having a few years to make it fit back in with the rest of the coding. I'm not a developer, but given how long active non-sports franchises take between installments, it takes a while to build a game, let alone add new features. Simply put, this game could use a rest, then time to see what did and didn't work, and make the appropriate corrections. I used to love Madden back in the day. When I was in college, it was a staple in our dorm, which was the football dorm. I still play it, to be fair, because it's the only game in town regarding NFL games on console at present moment. The problem is that they're just holding me and other customers who want to play with their favorite teams hostage. This means that once there's another viable option, these customers will escape. This game can be fixed. There is a better way of doing things. They can do right by the customer while not losing any revenue. Like most things, they must pull the trigger, and the beauty of it is that these are changes that they can begin within the next 1 to 2 entries of the game. So that's the end of my first video, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Whether you think I'm right, wrong, or see things I can do better, please leave it in the comment section. Also, I want to make a go of this, so if you're so moved, subscribe to my linked Patreon and also join me on Twitch, which is also linked. Every dollar you guys subscribe with helps me improve this channel and bring you more content. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and take care of yourselves and each other. Be safe and think about me.